the Weekly Mac. In today's episode, we'll be talking to the conceptual artist and photographer Joan Fontcuberta. And as always, we have Words and Facts with Matthew Tree's facts, Màrius Serra's words, and a report by Humberto González about pleasure. And we'll be visiting the birthplace of Renaissance art. Come join us for a trip to the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. This is the Weekly Mac, your TV show in English, hosted by Marcela Topor.
Hello, we are thrilled to be back in the studio with more content than in previous weeks. So welcome to a one-hour show during which we'll try to entertain you, surprise you and help you keep up your English. And today we're going to kick off our program with a fascinating interview with a conceptual photographer. This award-winning, internationally famous Catalan artist thrives on the ambiguity between reality and fiction and has been described as a master of the art of photographing ideas. Well, I'm talking about Joan Fontcuberta. Welcome to the program.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thank you for being here with us. Well, Joan, first of all, do you consider yourself an artist, a photographer, both things, or something completely different?
That's a profound question, who I am. Let's go to Socratic times to provide an answer. Well, I believe I'm someone using the photographic tools to think about our surrounding world. And what would you consider that this is making me as a category? Photographer, an artist, I don't care. I mean, that's my business, that's my activity. Huh? So the name is not important to me. So sometimes I'm presented as a visual artist, sometimes I'm presented as a photographer. I'm both comfortable in those terms. Okay. For me, it's clear that photography deals with the technique, art deals with the project.
Joan, you've said that photographs are constructions like any other human product, or that they are just an idea of reality. So, what is your idea of photography? I know this is a complex question,
yes,
but let's
I've been
see
working in photography
summarize.
For more than 40 years, and I have doubts to reply this kind of challenging questions. As I said, I think that photography is a visual thinking. It's a way to visually explore reality, and because of that it provides many different perspectives. It can be a language, it can be just a depiction technology, it can be a communication means, it can be a way to produce art, a way to understand each other. Now we use photographs, we send them from our smartphones and we communicate through images, so that they became like words that we use in a very spontaneous way. In previous times, photography was a kind of light writing, only done by a specialist. Now everybody is using photographs.
Do you use your smartphone to take photos?
Of course, I'm a normal person.
I mean, in your work.
Yes, as well. Of course, I mean it's a device to produce visual recordings. So I think it's a useful tool in some specific circumstances.
Okay. Well, Joan, in your exhibitions, you play on the ambiguity between reality and fiction. So would you say you are a bit of an illusionist from this point of view?
Somehow. Actually, photography was born in 19th century to provide evidence. But this is because photography as a technology was the heir of the Industrial Revolution, of positivism, of all the values rooted in 19th century. Huh? And because of that, photography was embodied in a specific pattern. Huh? And I think that now we learn, we realize that the camera can provide many other ways to approach reality, more subjective. And because of that, we challenge this idea of objectivity. I believe that different photographers in front of the same subject will provide different interpretations. So where's this idea of the document, of the witnessing, which was so closely attached to the photographic medium? So that's the reason I deal in this no man's land of reality and fiction.
Okay. Joan, what feedback do you get from the people who go and see your exhibitions normally?
Well, actually, I believe that public, audience, people watching at my photographs are co-authors. I just provide half of the artwork, but the other half should be completed by projecting their own experience by viewers. So this feedback is absolutely necessary in terms of fulfill the communication process.
Okay. And what is your main aim when you press the shutter of your camera? What is the main objective that you have in mind to achieve?
Usually, when I press the shutter, this is becoming part of a strategy, a more complex, construction in terms of expression or exploration. And every photograph is not good or bad by itself, but regarding the position which it's playing in the whole project. So that's the reason I believe that photographs alone cannot stand by themselves in order to provide meaning. Photographs belong to a constellation of elements, including words, including, architecture, space, and other things. And in such a way, they acquire the way they impact us.
Mm-hmm. You also said once that it is the responsibility of a photographer not to contribute with and aesthetic messages, but to shake up people's awareness. So what do you think is the role of a photographer?
Well, most of the time, for instance, if we look at photographic magazines or photographic exhibitions, museums, and so on, they try to provide some kind of photographic beauty. I mean, what's a beautiful photograph? And I think that's
difficult question.
That's very easy. I mean, all photographs are beautiful. It's depending not on the photographs themselves, but at the way we look at them. This means that to me, photographs should be created because of conceptual reasons. And in such a perspective, I think that they should support a more ambitious, a more challenge program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, talking about ambitious, besides being a practicing artist, you've been a visiting professor at several prestigious universities around the world, in the United States, in France. What do you feel is missing in photography studies?
Well, I would say that there's a lack of visual culture. I mean, in our educational system, the textual, the verbal, the literary aspect is completely fulfilled, but we are not so experienced in writing and interpreting images. And in a visual world, in a world dominated by internet and visual media, this is an important lack in our education. So I think that rather than thinking about how you should implement a photographic program in universities, I think that we should implement visual education in basic schools.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good point. Well, Joan, now we are going to change the subject, but we are staying with images because it's time for our report about the arts. And I'd like to ask you, what do you make of Renaissance visual arts? If you're a fan or not, I suppose you are.
Well, I'm not so trained in art history. Of course, I'm curious. And as a visual artist, this is my past, this is my heritage. I was trained in communication. I dealt in journalism and advertising. And I felt that Renaissance art was the first time that the perspective system was introduced in visual representation, and because of that I admire them so much, because this is the origin of the photographic camera, of the camera obscura.
Okay, that's a great point, and I asked you that because our collaborator Cela Falgueras from Radio Televisio Cardedeu is going to show us the most famous museum at the very birthplace of the Renaissance, the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. Let's check it out.
Do you need a crash course on Renaissance art? If so, without any doubt, you need to go to Florence. Back in the 15th century, Florence was a center of European trade and finance and one of the wealthiest cities of that era. It's considered by many academics to be the birthplace of the Renaissance and has been called the Athens of the Middle Ages. Today, I'll be showing you 3 masterpieces that are in one of Italy's most visited museums. Let's go to the Uffizi Gallery. With over 2 million visitors per year, this famous worldwide U-shaped museum was originally built for a different use. The name Uffizi, that means offices in Italian, comes from the fact that Cosimo de' Medici commissioned the building so it could accommodate the offices of the Florentine magistrates. Some of the absolutes must-see at the Uffizi are Botticelli's Spring and the Birth of Venus. The goddess is standing on a giant scallop shelf as pure and as perfect as a pearl. Filippo Lippi's Madonna and Child with 2 angels. As yet, there's nothing to confirm the widely held belief that the Virgin's face is none other than that of Lucrezia Butti, a young nun from Prato who went on to become Lippi's lover. Titian's Venus of Urbino. It depicts a young bride about to be dressed so that she can take part in the celebration of the ritual known in Venice as Il Toccamano. It was a ceremony held in the home and not in church, during which a young woman whose hand was requested in marriage would touch the hand of the groom to express her consent. If you go to Florence, don't forget to top up your gallery visit with a 10-minute stroll to the Gelateria La Carraia and enjoy some of the best ice creams in town.
Okay, and we continue our interview with the photographer and conceptual artist Joan Fontcuberta, and probably one of his most popular projects is this one. Al món neix en cada basada. That's a big photo of hundreds of photos actually of people kissing that we can find in Barcelona. So Joan, can you explain us what is the meaning of this photo? What's behind this project?
Well, first of all, this was an assignment from the municipality because of the 300 years commemoration of the 1714, the year in which the French army took over Barcelona.
Yes.
And I didn't want to present a kind of dramatic remembrance of that, a tragic event, instead of talking about the future in a very positive way. And I thought that
yes,
a kiss was a very symbolical gesture of affection, of love, of proximity, of contact and sensuality. And I think that this horizon was much more, inspiring than war, suffering,
yes,
death, blood, and so on.
And with a great visual impact as well.
Exactly. And then I thought that this should be done with the contribution of all the citizens who would like to do so. I mean that I was only a kind of coordinator of the project, but it was a choral artwork,
okay,
a collective artwork done with the photographs that people wish to submit. So finally, this is a photo mosaic. I like the mosaics structures because even if they were created thousands of years ago by Greeks, Romans, Arabs, and so
yes,
on, they preceded the digital image. The tessella is the pixel in current photographic digital image. So this is a kind of a structure, a composite, a photomontage, in which all the participants implemented the idea of a moment of freedom.
Yes. It was a great project. Well, let's talk about another project related to the confinement, in this case called Mirades des del Confinament. This is an initiative of the Cruïlla Festival, Omnium Cultural and yourself. Tell us about this project. What does it involve and when can we see the result?
Well, in that case, because of the lockdown and the confinement, we all remained at home. We were isolated. We lost our contact with people we love, and then this created a very special situation. And I thought that those who accomplished those rules in order to prevent the epidemic were worth of a kind of homage. And that's the reason we choose this idea of solidarity as the content, as the concept for that art piece.
Okay.
And then we wish that all people again who would like to contribute with some pieces could send images taken during their own confinement.
Exactly. I guess lots of people sent you photos,
Yes,
right?
more than 60,000. So
Wow.
it's quite a success.
Okay, and when can we see the result?
Well, it was supposed to be presented early July, but because of the situation, it has been postponed to next Cruïlla edition.
Okay.
This means in 2021.
All right.
But probably the image itself, I mean the photo mosaic, which later will be enlarged and printed, probably we will be unveiling on September. I don't know if around
next year.
September 11th. No, this September 11th.
Okay.
Or close to those dates.
Excellent, Joan. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm afraid we've run out of time. It's been a really interesting chat, and good luck with all your projects.
Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
Joan.
inviting me.
And now it's time for a language tip. Did you know that especially and specially are two different words in English? Let's learn how to use each one of them with our collaborator and English teacher, Mark Roderick.
Hey guys, how's tricks? And of course this week is a super tricky one. It's the difference between especially and specially. Now, especially means particularly or mainly. And I'll give you an example. I love to go swimming, especially in the summer when it's not too cold, of course. But I'm from Ireland, we go swimming all year round. The next one is specially, which means it has a specific purpose. It's designed for or made for something. For example, this imaginary watch is specially designed for scuba diving, something that I don't do. So, whether you use especially, which means particularly or mainly, or specially, something for a specific purpose, don't forget my special tip for this week. Take care.
The Irish countryside has been the inspiration for many films from both sides of the Atlantic, some of which have become classics. And our cinema expert Miquel Lopez from Televisão de Badalona is going to tell us about a great romantic film about Ireland by Joan Fontcuberta, which you can find and watch at ebiblio.cat. Let's check it out.
Typical Irish weather. If you love Ireland, you'll probably love this movie, The Quiet Man, because this is the song of love that his director, Joan Fontcuberta, dedicates to the land of his parents, because he was of Irish ancestors. Then we are in Innisfree, a small village in Ireland. In this place, a man, John Wayne, goes back to the place where he was born and wants to buy his old home. And also he falls in love with his enemy's sister, the red-haired Maureen O'Hara. Local color, lots of humor, of Irish humor, and a very big and very funny fight make this unforgettable movie one of the best Joan Ford directed, and also with a great cast and great performances by John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, and the usual Ford gang, which includes people like Barry Fitzgerald, Victor McLaglen, or Ward Bond. Don't miss it.
Our collaborators are getting back together on Words and Facts. Get ready for some curious facts, fun idioms, and a reporter at large from a safe distance. Don't miss it.
Welcome back. The many video calls that have taken place during the past lockdown have involved some very surprising and funny situations. And Joan Cama from Lleida Televisió has collected some of the most hilarious video call blunders we can find on social media.
You've been making a lot of video calls these days, right? Self-taping can be a little complicated sometimes. You have to make sure everything is just right. The lights, the background, the sound, and a long list of extras. Not everything goes according to plan in real life, and there are times when we have to deal with some technical problems. Like Rachel's job reunion. On her Twitter profile, she explained that her boss had turned herself into a potato during their Microsoft Teams meeting. Her boss couldn't figure out how to turn the setting off, so she was stuck like that for the entire meeting. The tweet went viral, and now Rachel's boss is already on Twitter. Can you guess what her profile picture is? Have you ever had that nightmare in which you are almost naked in front of a crowd? Well, a crowd of 3 million people have seen this guy appearing in his underwear in the middle of a video meeting. Without a shadow of a doubt, the most viral video during the quarantine has been this one. France's Minister of National Education got a lot of attention due to this clip. Apparently, his camera fell onto the bathroom floor during an interview, but it's already been proved that the video was a fake. It was a video creation from the French collective Hutu. Both French Minister Emmanuel Macron and even US President Donald Trump have also been victims of Hutu. So now you know, don't believe everything you see on television.
We've been doing our home edition show for 2 months. So it's about time we had our proper Words and Facts with all our collaborators in the same room, mind you, keeping a safe distance from each other. We've got Matthew Tree, Màrius Serra, Humberto González. We've got them back. Hello, guys.
Hi there.
How are you?
Nice to be back.
Yeah, yes, indeed. All good?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah?
No way, far away. I feel far away from you by now.
Yeah, too far away, but we need to keep our distance, no, for the moment. Well, as always, Màrius is back to comment on the origins of and some curious facts about our viewers' favorite idioms. Also, he's got another guess word puzzle, as well as the solution to last week's guess word. Màrius, can you remind us the clue?
Yeah, the clue was to rain anything but money. 4 letters. To rain anything but money. We'll have the solution at the end of Words and Facts so that you can try to think about it.
We have an idiom about that too. When it rains, and I think it ties in with that one.
I think so.
Yes, indeed. Well, Humberto, we've been enjoying your videos during lockdown very, very much. I'm sure you'll all agree with me. I didn't know you had so many friends in so many countries, though.
Yes, and I'd like to actually send them a message right now because I know they are watching. And I want to just thank everyone from the United States, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Spain. Thank you for giving us details about your lives, and if they were a little bit too personal, well, it's too late now.
Okay, all in all, Humberto, you must have spent ages making phone calls, right?
Oh my God, Marcella, I was traumatized. It wasn't just the phone calls, it was actually making the videos at home. I cannot look at that table without seeing books and luggages that I can put on top of that table so I can videotape myself. I was so excited to finally go outside that, well, take a look how excited I was.
Okay, let's see.
Oh my God, y'all, it's such a pleasure to finally be outside again, and this mask is kind of turning me on. I am going to run and talk to everybody. Hello, how are you? How's it going? Good morning. How are you? I can't hug this table long enough.
Well, Humberto, your confinement must have been hard indeed. I never thought I would see you hugging a police car.
Let me tell you, I was hugging everything.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I think we have the whole video, but a bit later. Before, what about your lockdown? Did you want to hug everybody as well?
Well, hugging, not exactly a police car, but some of our friends, because we've got a lot of screens, and all our friends seem to be in only 2 dimensions. So I would need to go outside and have the 3rd dimension, right?
Yeah, I found the same thing, that like talking to people on the screen, it looks like a great solution, but it's like eating chocolate with a paper on. You know, it's not the same.
That's a great comparison. Well, and now we'll start Words and Facts with Matthew Tree. Today, he's brought another story about an unexpected international Catalan connection. And today it's about a Catalan musician and artist whose story starts in London in the 60s. Right, Matthew?
That's right. His name is Jordi Valls. It's an amazing story. In fact, we'll also talk about his daughter, whose story is becoming amazing as well.
Okay.
But he first went to London when he was 17 years old, 1963, and he liked it so much because he hated Barcelona under Franco. He found the atmosphere incredibly depressing. So he went back to London in 1969, and he stayed there for 4 decades. And became a major figure in the avant-garde music and art movement in London. But just to give you an idea, he kept meeting interesting people. Even when he was 17 years old, he ran into Mick Jagger in the street by coincidence. Wow. Before the Rolling Stones had brought out any records, and he recognized Mick Jagger and said, "When is your first album coming out?" Mick Jagger gave him the date, so when Jordi visited Barcelona, under his arm he must have been the only person here who had the first album of the Rolling Stones, for example.
Well, that's a good start. Who else did he meet?
Well,
I'm sure there's a long list.
There's a long list, but he really started meeting a lot of people in the 70s and the punk era. He met Chrissie Hynde, for example, before she started with the Pretenders.
Love Chrissie Hynde.
She's great. No. And can you imagine? You know, he met her really early on. And he met 2 bands that for me are bands that I followed and loved, which were anarcho-punk bands, Crass and Poison Girls. He met Malcolm McLaren,
wow.
the founder of the Sex Pistols. He met the writer on the occult, Colin Wilson.
What? Wait. Is this all this guy did was just meet people?
No.
Maybe they were living in the same neighborhood?
Like give him a chance, Humberto. No. Of all the people he met, maybe the one that influenced him the most was a man who, I think his original name was Nigel Brea, but he called himself Genesis P. Orridge.
That's not Phil Collins' Genesis, right?
No.
Just checking.
But he might have taken the name from there, or from the Bible, I don't know. But it was Genesis P. Orridge. He was probably the most influential figure in the whole British avant-garde scene for many years. And he had a band, still legendary, there are still people who remember it, called Throbbing Gristle. And Throbbing Gristle...
Oh, wait, hold the presses. Throbbing Gristles.
Gristle, yeah.
So I get heterogram from this one, and now I get Throbbing Gristle from you.
That's right.
Okay, let's keep it going, guys.
Okay, Throbbing Gristle, you get the idea. And Throbbing Gristle played what was starting to be called industrial music, and Jordi Valls started listening to it and decided this was something that he could get involved in. So he set up his own organization called Vagina Dentata Organ.
Vagina Dentata.
Vagina Dentata.
This is where I asked Danny if he can actually make my head turn around like Linda Blair on The Exorcist. Vagina Dentata Organ.
That's
really?
right. Vagina dentata is a concept that appears in one of Picasso's paintings, and also Genesis Peorage had a bag which he carried around with it saying vagina dentata with a kind of corresponding image. So Jordi took the name from there, called it Vagina dentata organ. In fact, he did lots of CDs as Vagina dentata organ. There are two of them here. One is called Un chien catalan, as opposed to the famous Dali and Buñuel film Un chien andalou. The great masturbator, because Dali was one of his main influences and so forth. And yeah, okay, if you want to see what they did, Vagina dentata organ, we've got a clip of a video of them performing
I would love to see
in
this.
Bristol.
Yeah,
This is in
love
Bristol.
to see this.
Okay, let's have a look.
By any chance you would make a mistake to try to come in and take any one of us, we will not let you. You will die. You will have to take anybody over all of our dead bodies. Love's the only weapon.
Sounds like Fura dels Baus. A little.
Yeah,
Right,
a little bit, but he was before,
Yeah,
that,
before.
that period.
Okay, but can we actually discuss these names? Is nobody else shocked by these names besides me? Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah.
Vagina dentata.
Yeah.
Okay, but vagina dentata also is a chastity belt, and it's a horrible chastity belt at that. Do y'all know that?
From
can
the medieval
imagine, I
period, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so none of you all are shocked except for me about these names.
Well, I've kind of got used to them over the years, you know. Since
Yeah.
I am shocked
Me the
about
same as Matthew, I suppose.
I'm shocked about the surname, these Valls, because in my neighborhood in Horta there are lots of Valls, and one of them is Manuel Valls, the politician. Is he related to this Jordi Valls in any way?
He's a first cousin of Jordi Valls,
First cousin?
but they don't really have very much in common.
So wait, so Manel Valls doesn't have a throbbing gristle either? That's what they don't have in common?
Well, yeah, Manuel Valls, let's say, is into completely different things from Jordi Valls.
I think-
Okay, go on.
They don't speak to each other or anything like that. And
that's a relief.
so what we have in that video, in fact, is the violence comes from the violence that Jordi Valls saw during the first punk concerts, like in the Clash. The first Clash concerts, it was quite normal to rip up the seats, throw them around, smash bottles. Jordi Valls took part in all that. So you see that in the video, but you've also got performance art, experimental music, experimental video, all combined together. And he's also done installations. For example, I think we have that one coming up there, the toilet roll
Is that
cross.
toilet paper?
Yeah, that's a cross made out of toilet paper.
It's actually very
And
clever.
he did a whole...
Actually, this is during the lockdown. This was made during the lockdown.
No.
Seems so.
No. Yeah, I've just got it while you said that.
Because of
No,
the paper, not
Because
the,
of the paper, no.
not the skull.
Funny enough, this sculpture was going to form part of a whole anti-religious exhibition that was going to take place in Barcelona, and it got censored and cancelled at the last minute.
Okay.
So Jordi Valls' perception, in fact, that when he came back to Barcelona after 40 years in London, was that it was still a very conservative place
Okay.
as compared to to London.
So seeing this this piece of art.
art.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. It's good art. I like it.
Exactly, made of toilet paper. It seems to me he was a bit of a visionary, right? If you know what I mean.
Yes, very much so. And well, yeah, if we want to be macabre about it, with the skull in the middle also. That's quite visionary.
You also mentioned his daughter, Matthew.
Just so. Zoe Valls, she was born in London, but she came back to she came to Barcelona in the year 2000. And this is also an amazing story. In the year 2016, she ran into two Catalan musicians, Oriol Rosell and Mario Ferrer,
And they all had a similar interest in electronic punk music, and they formed a band called Dead Normal. And Dead Normal has been performing mainly in London, funnily enough, but also in Valencia, in Berlin, parts of Catalonia, and I saw them in Banyoles, and all over the place, and they're still going. In fact, it should be said, by the way, that Jordi Valls and the Vagina Dentata Organ are also still going. They were going to be in the Primavera Sound this year, but a certain virus put a stop to that, so they'll be doing that next year. And Zoe Valls with Dead Normal is going to be performing in Sonar next year as well. So you've got this weird thing of 3 Catalan speakers doing electronic punk music in English, and also performing with some of the very best punk bands in England.
I love that. I actually, I'm going to look them up. Although I am thinking that I need to have a different stage name for my artist persona. I am just too boring. I need to spike up my name.
Humberto Dentato.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I think we have one clip to give you an idea of Zoe and Dead Normal, just to give a taste of what they do. I think that should keep people's English up and running.
Yeah, exactly.
In a punky way.
And that's alternative music for real. And now it's time for our viewers to participate actively in our show, that is, in a completely different way. Fortunately, right? The part where Màrius comments on the English idioms we get from our viewers. We've got a good harvest of idioms, I think.
Yeah, we certainly have. We've got 4 idioms coming from 3 different informers. One of them well known by all people, watchers of our program. So prick up your ears and open your eyes, because we are going to hand.
I want to talk about one of my favorite English idioms. When there's a will, there's a way. How many of us feel unable to reach our goals? Obviously, life doesn't give you anything. Never give up. If you fall, then get up stronger than ever. You must believe in yourself, because even in difficult times, we have to find the light.
I'm going to introduce the English idiom, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. As a pilot, we always try to avoid to have airplanes and birds on the same line. And the similarity of the subject reminds me of this idiom. The meaning of it is to achieve 2 different goals using only 1 effort. This is only a metaphor and is not intended to hurt any animals or personal feelings.
And one of my favorite expressions in English is to beat around the bush. It means when you have something important to say, but you keep talking around it, which leads me to one of my other favorite expressions, which is the complete opposite, and that's to cut to the chase. So you have something important to say and you just go for it. You can use them together and say, don't beat around the bush, just cut to the chase.
Well, we'd like to thank David Leo, Cristina Bignay, and our collaborator Adina Rose Levin as well for these idioms. You can still send us your favorite English expressions in a short horizontal video to our email, which is twm@laxarxa.cat. And now, Màrius, today's idiom seems to focus, they all seem to focus mainly on birds, actually hunting birds, right?
Yeah, but don't worry, we are not going to hurt any animal at all.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah, first of all, killing 2 birds with a stone. My question is, why a stone? Because we Catalans say, matar 2 ocells d'un tret, and a tret is a bullet. So a stone is still not so violent. We have another idiom with a couple of birds. It is, a bird in the hand is worth than 2 in the bush. That comes from falconry, in fact. Well, that means that you have to maybe it's better to hold on something you've got for real. This bird in the hand, rather than thinking about the future and maybe losing all your possibilities. But it comes from falconry when people get to hunt with a falcon on the hand. So it was worthier a bird on your hand than two, the prey in the bush. That was a question of prices, because prices often vary. I found another idiom saying, better one bird in hand than 10 in the wood. That's more expensive. That's inflation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because when you've got 2 or 10 in the bush, people went there and you just hunted with nets if they move. But we Catalans can pay even more than every single one in the world. We can say, val més ocell a la mà que 100 en vegis volar. So that's 1 to 100. And that's really a very expensive price.
You guys have a lot more money.
More birds.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, there are other bird-related idioms. For example, a little bird told me, which we also use in Catalan, right? So let me ask you, do you know other idioms about birds or about hunting? Birds?
My favorite is a bird's eye view. It's like having front row seats.
Okay, that's a good one.
The one I like quite a lot is it's an early bird that catches the worm, which is I'd like to stress it's nothing to do with getting up early, because otherwise I wouldn't be using it. It's to do with, if in any field at all, if you get in there first and you do something before anybody else does it, then you're going to be more successful than those people doing that thing. So it could be anything. It could be in business, it could be in the arts, it could be at work, but it's an early bird that catches the worm. In other words, be there first.
Something like when you beat first, you beat twice.
Yes. I didn't know that expression, but
well,
yes.
that's a translation from a Catalan one,
expression.
that's not English.
Well, what about the ones given to us by our collaborator, Dina Màrius?
Yeah, well, to start with, they are opposite, and it's quite nice to beat around or above the bush. What would you say? Around?
I've always said about the bush, to beat about
because
the bush.
You're
about the bush.
British, and you?
Americans say around.
Around and about. That's well, you get the idea.
Yeah,
you don't go. You avoid coming to the point. And the other way, there's cut to the chase, which means to get to the point.
Exactly.
The only one that has to do with birds is the first one, again, because of bushes, right? When people went hunting, someone just moved the bushes because birds start flying away. So they could, as I said before, hunt them with nets or something.
And they're called beaters.
That's it.
People, yeah.
That's it. And I found that there are grouse hunters still today beat the bush to hunt. It's still.
What about cut to the chase? It doesn't have any birds in there?
No, anything at all. It goes to the cinema story. It comes from the US film industry in the 20s. I've found a film, the first one in which it was used. It was in 1929 called Hollywood Girl. That was just mute films, non-sound films.
Silent film.
Yeah, that's it. And they used to have some romantic scenes, love scenes, and afterwards they went to a chase as an end. Everybody chasing anyone, right? So the first time at this film, you can read at the script, she escapes, cut to chase. Well, in film industry, cut, you mean
Yes, exactly.
you stop this scene, you go to the next one, right? But in the 40s, it started to be used with this figurative meaning that now we use like when in doubt, cut to the chase.
Get to the point.
Get to the point. That could be a very good motto. Don't you like it?
Marius, I'm always impressed with your idioms, these explanations. I love them.
Let's see if we are as impressed with your video, Humberto. So let's cut not to the chase, but to Humberto's video, because I know that you went out in the street for the first time in a long time, and I think you enjoyed it a lot, right?
God, it was so nice to get out. Yes, so I did. I asked people this time what they missed the most, what pleasures they missed the most about being in quarantine, during quarantine, and what pleasures they wanted to actually, or were looking forward to doing the most. So let's take a look. I am going to ask people what their pleasures are today, and I'm going to be unleashed like nothing before. Excuse me. Hello, do you speak English? Hello, how's it going? How are you? Hola! What is your favorite pleasure in general?
Eating, having sex, taking a walk, playing my guitar, watching my son smiling.
Which one of those pleasures have you missed the most during the quarantine?
Having sex.
Oh my God, y'all, the pleasure of sitting in a terrace. I can't hug this table long enough. What was the best pleasure that you did during the quarantine?
There hasn't been one. To be honest, it's been that boring. It has been that boring. Self-service most of the time.
This is a pleasure not.
Dancing on the street is also what I like.
Can you do a little dance for me?
Do I have a music?
Do we have music? Is there such a thing as too much pleasure?
I don't think so.
Oh, how you sparkle. I wish you still wanted me. Are there any pleasures that you feel guilty about?
Yes, I'm just about to roll one.
Could you say that again? Because I did not quite understand the English from England. Could you repeat? I need subtitles, y'all.
I'm just about to roll one.
Oh, now I get it. My pleasure is uniforms.
My job allows me not to wake up at 8 o'clock or at 7:30, so this is a pleasure to be in my own bed.
I shouldn't be as lazy as I am sometimes.
Being lazy is a pleasure.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Is the pain of the tattoos a pleasure for you?
No, not the pain, but the result.
What about your chest?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, your back?
Not yet.
Your butt?
Not yet.
Being in the Plaza San Jama with no tourists, ladies and gentlemen, you will never see this again.
So you say, oh yeah, let's go date. Where you go? You go here on the square? You can't, because the police come and say, you cannot date, you cannot touch each other. So the only date that I have from Bumble, I take him to the mountain in Montjuic. So we drink a wine and we eat something, nothing. We finish kissing each other and I never see him again.
One of my guilty pleasures, ladies and gentlemen, is to have a date with a woman. Best pleasure today, ladies and gentlemen, has been seeing the Ramblas without the tourism. Unbelievable. I never thought I would see this in my whole life. And also the guilty pleasures of all those people. Oh my God. I was in hog heaven.
Well, people were clearly very much in need of human contact, but we still have to keep a distance. Did you feel comfortable with the mask and everything?
I have to tell you, Marcella, I have to give you thanks, and our producer, Gloria, for that wonderful designer mask. I felt like I was wearing Armani. And yes, I felt very comfortable, and it was so protective. It even protected me from that bird that shat on my, ooh, excuse me, not shat. Chat is incorrect, y'all. It's shit in the present and shit in the past. Sorry, sorry. But did you hear about the bird that shit on my head?
It's good luck.
Yeah, that's what everybody's been telling me.
Yeah. In British English, it's shat.
Yeah.
Is it really? Well,
Seriously,
in American English,
yeah.
it's actually shit in the present and shit in the past. But they told us shat is incorrect. But you guys use shat. We use shat in the countryside of the United States. Also, what do y'all use?
I prefer to get a chat.
Okay, now it's my turn to ask you guys questions about your pleasure during the quarantine. What pleasures did you miss the most, and what pleasure were you looking forward to doing the most?
I missed people, hugging or embracing people, of course, but one of it is to get my breakfast out. All my life, as I work at home normally, I go to the bar to have my first breakfast with my newspaper, and I couldn't do that. Even at home, with my breakfast, my coffee. I've got coffee, I've got everything at home, but I dislike that.
For me, it was more the opposite. It was what I found was what I didn't miss when I was in lockdown. I didn't miss sitting on a cafe terrace. I didn't miss restaurants at all. I got more into home cooking instead of cooking exactly the same dishes because my kids started getting really bored with what I was cooking. So I started trying to do different things. And I just felt no need to go and pay about 3 times the amount of money to get exactly the same thing when I could have a glass of cava or a nice glass of iced water at home. You know, I didn't miss anything of that.
Okay.
And you, Marcella?
Well, I guess I'm a mix between Matthew and Màrius, right? I did miss social contact, friends, family, and so on. But I also enjoyed, doing things I don't normally have time for, such as cooking, gardening, maybe. I know it sounds boring, but I enjoy it, and also spend more time with my children and the family. So yeah, it was a bit of both, I think.
I'm with you, Marcella. I am a mix between both of them as well. I enjoyed my alone time in quarantine, but I really needed to be unleashed after 3 months.
Yeah, it shows on the video.
It's clear, it's quite clear.
Well, what about your pleasures? They have changed maybe before and after the lockdown, for example. Do you appreciate going outside more, or have you got used actually to being outdoors and you didn't feel going out at all, or you didn't miss it? Partly, Matthew answered that before.
No, if there's one thing I did miss was the exercise. I love walking, and if you're in lockdown, you can only walk, or for a certain period of time, you could only walk if you were carrying a shopping trolley, so it would take me about 3 kilometers to get to a supermarket that was just up the road, because I'd take this, but I knew that no policeman was going to stop me because I've got my shopping trolley. So
it's like a dog.
Yes,
People,
it's like a dog.
People try to get the dog all the time.
Yeah.
Use your trolley. I think I knew that, but I love staying at home, but I need the street. I really need the street, people in the street, going to the street, not even with my friends, just regular people, just live. Having that sensation, that's the worst thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I missed as well.
Yeah, you're sighing actually when you say that, so yeah, it's from the heart.
It was.
Well, now our pleasure is to crack Màrius's word puzzles. It's time to reveal the solution to last week's guess word. Please remind us of the clue, Màrius.
Yeah, it was to rain anything but money. It was 4 letters, and I'm not going to ask Marcella anymore. I've been asking her for 2 months.
Yeah.
So I asked you
yeah, it's
too.
their turn.
It's easy. Pour.
Oh, I wanted to get in
Oh,
there.
sorry. Sorry.
Jesus, I'm better for once that I actually got one of these things.
Next time, I'll let you. Next time. Sorry.
Yeah, pour, but with P-O-U-R. That sounds like pour, no money. Right?
And our idiom also is when it rains, it pours.
That's
Pours, exactly.
Which in England we say it never rains but it pours.
Oh,
It
really?
never rains.
Yeah, it never rains but it pours.
Good point. We need the guess word to keep us entertained as well for next week, so bring it on.
Yeah, this is the clue. The most interrogative crime story. 9 letters in London, 8 in New York. The most interrogative crime story. 9 letters in London, 8 in New York.
I'm going to count how many letters throbbing has to see if that's in there.
Okay, well, you can think about it and the answer will surely come to mind. You can share the enigma and post your solution online. Well, Matthew, Màrius, Humberto, until next time, a pleasure to see you again face to face.
Pleasure to see you guys as well.
And we got to the end of today's show. As always, we'll be back next Saturday with more interesting interviews, funny videos, amazing facts and tips to keep your English up and running. Until then, feel free to follow us online and explore the videos on our website. Stay tuned, keep up your English and have a great week. Bye-bye.